Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, members of 6G. This lesson is a continuation of our previous follow-up on how Canada responds to global issues. In the previous lesson, we learned that Canada has an institutional apparatus where it is able to help out other countries in the form of the Canadian government, just the Canadian government, governmental institutions that are affiliated with the Canadian government, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, which are their own organizations, which they help out as well. And also the Canadian public and even the provinces can help out other countries. So we learned that Canada is able to help or has a capacity to help out other countries and does so every single year where it has these objectives. And they've responded all throughout the last 20 or 30 years to probably hundreds of different disasters across the world or global issues. And we know those global issues to be poverty, civil war, drought, tsunamis, natural disasters, earthquakes, and so forth. So today I talked a little bit about how you would be in the role of a prime minister, and you have to come up with an action plan on what you would do if you were prime minister, if this global issue came up and you were prime minister. How would you mobilize? What kind of action plan would you have? And as you know, Justin Trudeau is our prime minister, and he himself has created an action plan on how to deal internally with COVID. And not only that, he was instrumental in the Syrian crisis, which was a global issue in Syria. So many of you have a good background knowledge on this as well. So I'm going to show you exactly what to do in this lesson on the assignment that you guys and girls are going to be working on. So number one, in the previous lesson, I said that for you guys to pick a social issue. Some people chose pandemic, some people chose drought, some people chose, quote, cyclone or hurricane. So what I did is I tried to streamline the assignment as much as I can, because when we're doing research projects, especially inquiry, that's a lot of work and there's a lot of teacher and student interaction, and I don't have the luxury of that. So what I did is I bundled the expectations as best as I could and streamlined it to make it as easy as I can for you guys and girls. So I'm going to show you what the assignment looks like. I did it through Google Slides, and I'm going to share the screen with you. And the objective today is, number one, is to show you what the assignment looks like, number one. And number two is to navigate through the pages so you're comfortable in what to do. And number three, the expectations, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to share the screen, and I'm just going to go straight to the Social Studies Hub screen. When you go to the activity feed, you're going to see this assignment that I've posted here, How Canada Responds to Global Issues. You're going to watch the video, which is this one, and then you're going to click on to this Google Docs form here. So once you click onto it, it is going to force you to make a copy, and you must do this in order to get a copy. Now, I made this public, so it's not just to anyone in the HWDSB. Everyone should have access to it. Once you click on to make a copy, it will go directly into your Google Drive, and that is your own copy. And as you can see, it's now made a copy of the Google Slides. Once you get to the Google Slides format, which is right here, for those of you who just need a refresher, to start off the Google Slide format, you go to View and go to Present, and boom, we're on the first slide. So here is the scenario. I'm just going to read it to you really quickly. A major issue has affected an area, region, country in our world. As leader of our country, how will you respond to this disaster? How will your government, government organizations, non-government organizations, provinces, and the Canadian people respond to this issue? You decide on one scenario and take action now. Okay, well, that sounds easy enough. So I'm going to go down to the second slide. Now, you don't have to choose all of these. You choose one of these global issues. So global issues, impact, and response from Canada. So if you're interested in pandemic, then you would choose pandemic. And you don't click the title and you don't click the picture, you just click the slide. So it clicks onto slide 4, and then it gives you the scenario posted here. The region of the world have been hit by a giant pandemic. Imagine for a moment this impact will have on the people that live here. What effect will the pandemic have on the region? What will happen to the people? What will happen to the economy? What will you do? These guiding inquiry questions are for you to think about and not answer right away. They're just for you to ponder and think about. And since For those of you who are interested in pandemic, you already have a good background knowledge on some of the things to expect because of COVID-19. So you just think about how we have gone through this, and then what other countries would similarly go through the same process. Now, what I did is actually put in case studies where this actually did happen, where Canada responded to a pandemic, which was the 2014 West African Ebola outbreak. Now, what I've done is I've posted some information down here with some active links, like a YouTube video, and some of them have just information. So if you click onto the link, it will take you to the link and it will have information. And this will give you background knowledge on how Canada actually does respond to these scenarios. And as you can see here, look what Canada offered in the West African Ebola outbreak. So face shields, covered suits, surgical gloves, there's money down here, as you can see. So it gives you a background knowledge and a realistic action plan on how Canada would actually help other countries. And as you know, Canada actually did help China, and I think they gave them face masks, interestingly enough. So let me go back to the previous slide. So maybe you're not interested in doing pandemic, so you can maybe just go home, and we'll go back to this slide. And if you don't want to do that, just click on home and it will go back to here. And so maybe you're like, oh man, I don't feel like doing pandemic. Maybe I want to do, I don't know, I'll do tsunami. So again, you click on tsunami, it's the same thing. It shows you the scenario, how many people died, this region. So this is a hypothetical scenario, but it does have some background knowledge, again, because this stuff has happened before. And if you read and watch these videos, it will give you some background knowledge on how Canada does respond realistically to one of these scenarios. Now, once you have that background knowledge and you've done a little bit of reading and a little bit of watching videos, and you can watch videos on your own to compare your hypothetical scenario to what actually did happen, then you go to the next part, which is, first of all, step one, choose a scenario. Number two, read about it, watch some videos. Then you go to step two, is your action plan. So there's 3 action plans that you have to do, and all you have to do is click onto it. And the action plan is, what would you do immediately in your scenario? Well, if it was a tsunami in another country, you'd probably not give them food and water first. Why? Because people could be hanging onto trees. There could be dead bodies. There could be people that still need to be rescued. So you might want to deploy, a disaster assessment relief team, or you might want to deploy a military involvement into a country, and they may accept that, and you may help out with search and rescue. Or if it was search and rescue, it might be recovery. And then after that, you might develop tents and stuff. So each action plan is going to be different because the scenario is different. If it's a pandemic, you're not going to give them food and water. That's not the first thing you would do. You would have to think, what is the first thing I would do immediately to help out another country? Once you have done in point form things that you would do, like raise money or get organizations to help out, then you would go to the next slide, which is action plan 2. What would you do? How would you help out a country 6 to 12 months? And then have information there. And then 2 to 5 years. And again, this information is point form. So once you have some ideas, you just post them down there, just type them out. And you're like, well, how do I know how Canada would respond realistically? Well, I did provide that for you. If you go to slide 13, and this area here is to help you, it give you some background knowledge as well. If you click on a slide 13, it will actually show you how Canada helps out other countries. It helps out in emergency response capacity, a developmental work capacity, and campaigning. Campaigning is like raising money. Developmental work is like building institutions or structures. And emergency response is emergency response. And this will help kind of frame your answers. And of course, you can take some of this information and you can place it into your action plan. Absolutely. But don't just use this slide here. Try to get a background knowledge in some of your slides where you actually, where it's realistic, where organizations like the Red Cross would be helping out, or other organizations like Doctors Without Borders would probably be helping out with pandemic. So it has to be kind of a little bit realistic. You can't just make stuff up. So again, that's going to help you out. The last slide here that you have to do is really a very simple slide. You just have to justify your action plan. So slide 14, I believe my response to the crisis was effective and realistic for these 3 reasons. First, I believe my response was effective and realistic because, and then you give a reason, and you give 3 reasons here. And then that's it. If you want to see what the rubric looks like, I will just go to it on slide here, slide 15, and that's the rubric here. So I've streamlined some of the inquiry process here. Basically, they got a level 4. The student has effectively gathered and organized information on how the Canadian governments, so the Canadian government, its organizations, so governmental organizations. If you're doing pandemic, I should see WHO. Obviously, World Health Organization is going to be involved. If you're doing like an earthquake, I should see Red Cross. Like, these are things that I should see. NGOs and the Canadian public respond to a global issue or disaster. Research is thorough, as evidenced by the students' realistic and sophisticated action plans and the use of a large amount of information gathered from Canada's response to real global issues. So the more background knowledge that you have, how Canada responded to a similar situation to your hypothetical scenario, and you have been able to articulate that in your action plan and your justification for your action plan, that you're going to get a level 4. And again, this is your conclusions about the efficacy or how realistic your action plan is. And this is if you've used vocabulary, for example, like you're using NGOs, you have a realistic NGOs that are in there. Like if you are doing tsunami, I should see Habitat to Humanity. If you're doing pandemic, I should see WHO. So that's just vocabulary that's in there. So that's about it. So just to kind of reiterate, again, you can always go to the home screen as well in this slide presentation. The first thing you do, you're Prime Minister of Canada, pick one scenario and take action. Do something about this global issue. Once you're there, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to be interested in one of these. And you can go through them and find one that you want to do. You can do any one you want. Even if you chose something different in the feed, it doesn't matter. Just choose one of these. Once you chose one of them, read the scenario, ponder or reflect on these guiding inquiry questions. Just think about it in your own head, get some background knowledge. Look at some information that's provided here and in YouTube. I think in this one, you have to scroll down in this Wikipedia. It just shows Canada's response because it does it by country. And then after that, you go, okay, I got some good background knowledge. I've got some information that I found out. I'm going to get some resource slide. I'm going to go to slide 13, see what this has, kind of frame it. Okay, that's good. Put a little bit of that in my action plan. After that, I'm good to go. So I'm going to go to my action plan. This is what I'm going to do in the short term. And then you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the, what's it called? The next phase or the middle phase. And this is the last phase, right? And then after that, that's it, and there's not much more to it than that. And again, if you need to go home, you just press home and it will take you to there, and everything is organized. And all you have to do really is just fill out these 3 action plans. Again, point form, it doesn't have to be perfect, point bullet form. And then after that, you go to this one. Was your response realistic or effective? And then you justify it using 3 good points. Take a look at the slide for the rubric. That's what you're getting marked on, and that's about it. There's not much more I can really help out in terms of navigation or showing you how to pick a topic. Like, for example, if I were to start right away, maybe I would do, I don't know, refugee crisis. If I were to start right away on that slide, and I was doing that, maybe I would just go straight to here, the slide, and then I would start again typing out information. I might want to go, oh, I'm going to get I don't know, 25,000 refugees coming to the country, pledge that to the government, whatever. So that's basically about it. And again, the assignment's due pretty late. I'm making it due June 5th. And, that's like 3 weeks. And I will be just providing updates to check to see how everyone is doing. And again, social studies, do the best that you can. And I will do weekly updates to see how everyone is doing. And we'll talk a little bit about submitting. Submitting actually is pretty easy as well. If I just show you, if you go back to your, what's it called, the hub in the social studies option, you can see where the assignment is. See if I can get there from here. Let's get out of here. It just says submission. Here you click on to submission, and then after that you would be able to just submit it from there as an attachment or whatever, and that's it, where it says submit. Okay, I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, just leave something in the feed below if you have problems accessing it, or you have any questions about the assignment itself, But again, you have a good, 15 days to do it. I know some of you are really fast. You could probably do it in a day. Some of you are really, really efficient, But again, try your best, and like I said, it's up to you to, for some of you, you may want to use this information to bump up your inquiry mark. So that's an option for you. So you can only get better. Okay. I think that's about it for today. Thank you for you guys joining me. And if you have any questions, like I mentioned before, just go into the feed below and just tell me what the question is, and I'll get back to you. Okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And yeah, that's about it.